Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. Now, if you are paying attention to the schedule, you might be thinking, I don't remember the Arcadian Wild being for Wednesday. It wasn't. We were supposed to check out Low today, but when I checked out the song that was requested from the band, I didn't really think that it fit the theme very well. And so I still recorded the reaction. It'll be shipped out on Saturday morning before the album review. Instead, though, I picked a different track for this Wednesday reaction that fits with the theme of vocal counterpoint, having two or more vocalists singing two or more unique or distinct parts. And so we're going to look at a song from the Arcadian Wild today called Dopamine, and we do have an official music video for this. So let's dive in and see what the Arcadian Wild is bringing to the table today.
Hit 'em with a little bit of dopamine. I keep 'em looking every second. They'll be second guessing, trying to meet the expectation of the age of information.
Is that a little
simulation will be so convincing
ukulele?
They're alive.
Well, that's definitely an acoustic guitar. No, maybe it's a mandolin? Ooh, an upright bass. Yeah, a mandolin. And a violin. And so many vocal parts. Such a warm, soothing melody too. Beautiful harmony. Got that percussive strike on the mandolin on 2 and 4. Fun little guitar solo. Listening to the mandolin part line up with the vocal part is very cool. Oh, very cool technique for the violin. Nice bit of reverb on that too to give it some width.
Out of here, there'll be one of the cold souls who disappear. Stop believing and telling the lie. Why don't you look your life in the eye? Wake up and break yourself out of here. Don't be one of the cold souls who disappear. Stop believing and telling the lie. Why don't you look your life in the eye?
A fun little ending there. Yeah, indie folk is a good genre for this week. All right. Very cool track there. On the topic of vocal counterpoint, it's here, man. And I like how we get a slow introduction to it. the first time through. On that opening verse, we bring in the lead vocalist, and then the guitarist off on the left comes in behind it, and then the violinist comes in behind that. And we get this layering, kind of adding more and more vocals to it. We do the pre-chorus, we do the chorus, we come back to the verse though, we're there. All of it's already stacked. We don't get the build-up this time around. Just launching straight into that three-way counterpoint. Yeah, I mean, it's just, one, it's kind of clever because it keeps the verses feeling a little distinct. It removes the build-up since we're not coming from the intro. We're not having to build into the song. We're in the song. Let's just get right to it. But I wonder if maybe, nah. I mean, the thing is I don't ever know if I'm reading too far into things or if it's actually going to pop up later. I think this is just going to be a musical idea, though. The song has the build-up, we hit a peak, we bring it back down, we hit the peak, and we don't really need to build back up, though. We're already here. This is our new home. We need to build from here. We don't need to build back up into it. And so for the second verse to just be the thing, I think that's how it's going to work. It just makes musical sense. I don't know if I see a thematic purpose behind it. But I like that idea. I think that it's so wonderful because it starts you off nice and easy. You just have the mandolin and the vocals. You're like, okay. You see the guitar. You don't really see the rest of the instruments yet. But if you know, well, I suppose if you know Arcadian Wild, you might be expecting the vocal stuff too. Regardless, though, is that the song starts you off easy, gives you the simplest ideas, and then builds you into it. And there's a lot of complexity going on in the verses. And I like the slow build into it, but it doesn't hold your hand after that, though. It's like, look, you get this. This music, you're familiar with it, all these lines going on, the accompanying foundational part. I helped walk you into this. When we come back to it, though, we're getting right into it. No more hand holding. I expect you to be able to handle this. And I like that. We don't need a second build-up. The complexity, though, is very nice. We have harmonic complexity, we have rhythmic complexity, we have melodic complexity. All three lines aren't just melodically different. They also carry a lot of different rhythmic focuses, too. I think the lead vocal is the one that is the most dexterous with rhythm in that they're constantly changing their rhythmic pattern. But I feel like the other two kind of locked into rhythmic patterns, kind of focusing on just one or two note lengths and creating something that felt, yes, melodically opposed to the main melody, but also rhythmically opposed, almost creating secondary rhythmic components to the song. I think that was a really smart way of doing that, especially with so many moving parts going on, because you also have the mandolin that's giving us a little bit of moving stuff. We have rhythmic information coming from the guitar as well, although it's mostly just strumming, so we don't really have a lot of melodic information, but we do have the rhythms because it's not just, eighth note strumming or something. There is a bit more complexity to it. And so it does create this very layered and dense rhythmic pattern to all of this that I think works really well by sort of simplifying individual ideas and creating complexity through the simplification by having all these layers of simple ideas supporting the more complex main melody. I'll be honest though, in some of these sections, there's just too much going on to really pay attention to it all, to take it all in on a first listen. I mean, we do have the 4 instruments. We also have the 3 vocals. That is 3 melodies, usually. Sometimes we have harmonies instead, such as at the end, we only had 2-part melody, but the 2 backup vocals were harmonizing with each other on a single counterpoint to the main vocals. Then we also have pure 3-point harmony in the chorus, too, where all 3 vocalists are singing the same line at different pitches. So there's a lot of density coming from the vocals in a variety of different manners. So you never really know what you need to be listening for until we get into that moment. And then there's all the rhythmic information as well. There's a lot of rhythm in here, or I don't know, rhythm's a good word for it, but I also think percussive is an element of this too. I had mentioned that I think it was the mandolin, was giving us these really hard strums on, I think, muted strings in order to give us almost a chunk kind of sound on 2 and 4 to create a percussive element within the song. And that is different from the rhythmic elements that are coming from the rest of the mandolin line. There's still eighth notes in there, still quarter notes. This heavy muted accent is only on 2 of the 4 beats in every bar. There are 2 other beats to dance around, to play around, to create syncopation against. And then there's the rhythm from the violin, the rhythm from, everything. This is a song that understands there is no percussion instrument, so everybody leans into the percussion. And, this kind of takes us back to the vocal conversation about how the rhythms in the 2 backup vocal lines in the verse were a bit more static compared to the more dynamic rhythms that we found in the lead vocal. Aside from just being counterpoint, they also carry that rhythmic element, sort of creating a home for everything else to be played against and understood against rhythmically. And so there's all this rhythmic density, there's harmonic density, there's melodic density. It's a lot. It's a lot to take in. And I'm sure I could listen to this 2 or 3 more times and walk away with even more understanding of what's going on in this track. And I think that's wonderful. For musicians, no percussion instrument, dedicated percussion instrument, and it's palatable. This is indie folk. There's nothing in here that's really tough to listen to. I think you can get a general audience to enjoy this. And yet there's so much depth to it. And as usual, I know I've said this a million times, that's where I really love music. Complex, but digestible. And I think this is another one of those really great examples of that. Now, I love the emotions of this song. It is rather laid back, as an acoustic band is going to feel. There's no digitization, or actually there is a little bit. I'll touch on that in a second. But there's no distortion, there's no overdrive, there's no big meaty sounds. It's all very light instruments. We do get a lot of warmth from the 2 bowed strings as well as the guitar, and they help fill out the low end and create a nice warm resonant tone. But it's generally a brighter sound harmonically too. This isn't a song that really focuses on weight or, I don't know, sorrow, anger. It's very light, bouncy. You got that nice 2 and 4 percussive hit. It just kind of feels like joyful to be within. I think a lot of the setting in the music video matches that too. Just a nice, warm, well-lit, but not overlit room that appears to be mostly lit by sunlight, which is pretty cool. That is a tough way to get a shot, but it looks fantastic if you can nail it. And that's probably why they did it in 1 shot as well. If you're going to do multiple takes on this, you definitely need to set up your own lighting, or you're going to run into lighting inconsistencies. Anyways, back to the music though. It's very warm, very inviting, very poppy. It's just bright and fun and energetic. The voices, I think, all work really well together and create something inviting, but even individually, I think all of them are rather warm and comforting as well. There are no vocals in here that are gritty or gnarly or dark or anything like that. They're all bright, forward projected, lots of energy. It's excellent. And so the song's called Dopamine. And I think this feeling of positivity and joy and good vibes really matches up with that idea right there. And I suppose that's about it for the breakdown on this one. We got the counterpoint in the verse. We talked about, melody lines that aren't the vocals. These were a joy to listen to. We had a couple of mandolin solos in here. We had a couple of guitar solos in here. Every single time, they're just very feel good, almost carefree at times. Once again, leaning into this feeling of dopamine, of positivity, good vibes in general. But I love the diversity too, especially not just focusing on solos themselves, but isolated moments. I think these are very cool as well because every instrument, except the upright bass, got a chance to be in the spotlight by itself. And they always brought something interesting to the table. We had some pizzicato from the violin, which is just picking the strings with your finger usually rather than bowing across it. Another thing I meant to mention is I said that there's no digitization to this. There's an interesting compression to the lead vocals. Towards the end of the song, he was very close to the microphone and it was pretty much isolated vocals and it didn't have width to it. It felt very closed in. I think that was the only moment for that. And we had a large bit of reverb and volume boost to the violin when they were hitting the strings with the bow and creating a nice percussive element from that. Otherwise, though, I think that what I heard, this was mostly just EQing. I don't think that there's a lot of post-production going on here other than just balancing all the sounds out. But yeah, back to the mandolin. Beautiful lines that we get from this. I love the mandolin solos, but we also get the solos in the pre-chorus that are kind of paired with the vocals. And I like this variation where the vocals are singing slower, less notes than what the mandolin is playing. But when they get to the keynotes, well, let me reverse it. From the perspective of the mandolin, they're playing a lot. But every time that they share a note, a beat with the vocals, it's the same pitch. So you have this general movement on the vocals, but then you have like an expansion of it on the mandolin. And I thought that was very cool. We also have a acoustic guitar solo at one point in the track. It was just like 8 bars long. It was rather short. I would have liked, actually the mandolin solo was rather short too. I would have liked a little more on those. But anyways, it has its warm tone, but it also brings a tad bit of, I don't know, a want for more. I wouldn't say it was negative in a way. It's not wistful. It's not sad. It just wants more. It's unsatisfied. That might be a really good word for it. Because being unsatisfied doesn't necessarily mean a bad thing. It just means that there could be more. You're having a good time with what this is, but if we took it up to the next level, that'd be even better. And that sort of feeling of not dissatisfaction, but not fully satisfied, I felt from the guitar. And it was just a little bit of, just a tinge of darkness. Not like, it's hard to describe. It's a darker color rather than a darker emotion. Does that make sense? Part of that may even just be the warmth of the instrument too. That is definitely one of the darker, warmer tones on here. Maybe I'm just misinterpreting the timbre for the harmony. Regardless, I certainly felt it there, but most of it is still very feel-good, very upbeat, very vibey. In fact, I think the only person who didn't get a chance to shine at all is the upright bassist. They didn't contribute vocals, and the bass consistently played foundational ideas. Which is absolutely fine. Sometimes you just need that glue. You need that really strong foundation to build things on. And, that puts a lot of weight on the basses. They don't stand out, but without them, the song falls apart. They're exceptionally important, even if they're not visually or sonically outstanding in any way. All right, let's hit some lyrics on this one, see what's going on with Dopamine. Okay, we have an anti-social media song. There's a couple of interesting things here. It is seemingly a screens are bad kind of song, which I have sort of railed against in the past for what I would call is sort of low effort lyrical songs about this topic. I think this one's really well done though. And it's one of the few times where I've seen a song tackle the topic of social media and having phones in our pockets and this instant connection to everything in a way that works and isn't just, well, we made a song and then I said, social media bad. And I'm really glad to get into this because so often I feel like I've just been like, oh, it's another social media song. It's not, it's not a great lyrical thing. It's just kind of surface level. But this has, it's sort of a way that I can now point to something. I'm like, this has done the anti-social media thing well. So the three voices are kind of three levels of perception of this idea. We have the mandolin player, who in the verses appears to be somebody who is a social media CEO of sorts, or maybe just a personification of all of the negative aspects of social media. The first verse says, hit them with a little bit of dopamine to keep them looking. Every second they'll be second guessing, trying to meet the expectation of the age of information. The simulation will be so convincing they'll forget that they're alive. First of all, the entire middle of that with the rhyme scheme works so well. Every second, they'll be second guessing. Very cool flip of that single word. Trying to meet the expectation of the age of information, and the simulation will be convincing, bringing it back to guessing, that ing sound to wrap that song up, so that they'll forget that they're alive. So they're being inundated with so much information. I think information's a really good word here, because it literally just means, in this case, data. It doesn't mean intelligence. It doesn't mean facts worth knowing. It simply just means information, sound, noise, words, so much of it just being, thrust upon them. It says that they're so convinced about this simulation, what social media is, that they'll forget that they're alive. I really like that idea. Using social media and describing it as a simulation, because it absolutely is. I mean, even I'm part of this. YouTube is a social media platform. And the thing is that when we post to social media, we post a curated form of our life. I do the same thing. Who I am on this channel is certainly a facet of me. I love music. I love dissecting music. And all of these thoughts are generally my own. I do get help from Genius Annotations when I dive into the lyrics, and we do look at background information, but everything else that I talk about is my thoughts, my interpretation. It is, me listening to the music and figuring out what it's saying and relaying that back to you. But at the same time, that's not all of who I am. I'm so much more, and I just don't show that part on the internet. So, social media, whether you want it to be or not, is curation. Unless you are, I don't know, webcam 24/7 on your life. You've always got like a backpack camera on or something, or webcam in the corner, and you don't wear a mask. You're not putting on a show at all. You just live your life. That's the only way I think social media could remove itself from this concept of simulation, of compartmentalizing who you are and packaging it for mass consumption in a way. And so describing social media as a simulation, I think works really well, saying that it'll be so, not that it will be convincing, that people will be so engrossed with it that they'll be convinced it's reality. And this is a really big deal, especially with people who get caught up in parasocial relationships with models and influencers, especially fitness influencers or makeup influencers and stuff. And they look at these people and they think that they have, vacation influencers too. And they think that they have the most luxurious life. It's perfect. They're beautiful. And, you just start comparing yourself to that, but you're comparing yourself not to something that isn't real, to something that's curated. It'd be like comparing yourself to a character in a book or a film. Like there's so much that goes into making sure everything looks perfect. But it's easier to forget about that when it's real people. Well, I say as if social media people aren't real people. that you forget that these are just real people with the makeup and the production and crafting and video editing and all of this stuff. You're forgetting that it's curated. And I think that's this is verse 1 here, and they're really getting into all this right off the start. We haven't gotten to the cool part yet, which is the 2 backup lines here. One says, "What have I missed since I last checked my phone? My God, that must have been 10 minutes ago." That cracks me up. I love that. I want to go back and hear the delivery on it, but I really hope that there's some emphasis like, my God, that must have been 10 minutes ago. I don't know. That would just crack me up if that was really, because that's how I read the line in like speech. Just this, this feeling. It's like, it's incredulous. How have I not looked at my phone in 10 minutes? Really playing up the melodrama of such a ridiculous statement, but also incredibly accurate. I can't even say that I'm immune to this. So often I have, watched something or read the internet on my computer, and I'm like, well, I need to get off the computer. It's time to do something else. I'll shut the computer down, and lo and behold, I will pick up my little micro pocket computer. So I think I showed the wrong side there. Micro pocket computer, and I'll probably go back to doing the same things there. Surfing the same websites, looking up the same topics. So, yeah, it's not unreal. It's not unlikely for somebody to be like, oh, dude, what's been going on? It's been 10 minutes since I've connected to social media. Now, this third layer here says, ever seeing but not perceiving, ever hearing but never understanding that they're alive. And I really like this because it is, instead of like the person who runs the social media and the person who is consuming the social media, this seems to be just a third party, somebody outside of this bubble, outside of this two-way road here. It could be a concept, a cosmic concept, maybe fate. But it could also be just someone who has found themselves disconnected from social media and looking from outside in, possibly even being in that position once, but having broken free out of it and just having this pity almost that they see all of this stuff, they hear all of this stuff, and yet they don't get it. They're not actually understanding. There's no critical thought to this. It is just consumption. And it says, you all are alive. And I really like that word because the opening vocals also mention this, that the simulation will be so convincing that they will forget they're alive. And this concept that we're all alive, but when you focus so much on social media, you're living vicariously through others. You're not living your own life. Again, it's this comparison of my life isn't as great as theirs, so part of me is just going to consume all of their content and live through them. But you're alive too. You can make your own story. Be someone awesome. Live a life worth living. Staring at a screen is not. The pre-chorus says, I can feel it slipping away. My grip on reality is down to a couple of fingers, like I'm running living like I'm running a race. So I have my doubts anyone's going to come out the winner. And once again, I think this goes back to the idea of the person who is consuming the media. And they can feel that they just keep slipping further and further into this realm of needing the social media. And the chorus comes back to, I think, this third party. It says, wake up, break yourself out of here. Don't be one of the cold souls who disappears. Stop believing and telling the lie. Why don't you look your life in the eye? And generally speaking here, I think this section is just about getting away from the screen. It says stop believing and telling the lie. And I think this is the concept of perpetuation. Social media exists because social media is used, and social media then gets used because people use social media. It's a cycle. If everybody got off of, Blue Sky tomorrow, there'd be no reason to sign up. And so the belief that all of this is worth your attention is self-perpetuated. You watch it, so it must be worth your attention. If you watch it, someone else will see, oh, dude, this person has 6 million subscribers. They must be someone worth watching. And now you're pulling other people into this. So it says, stop believing this. It's not real, might not even be worth your time, and stop perpetuating this lie that it's worth your time, because you're only going to invite more people into this. It says, look your life in the eye. Instead of watching someone else's life, perceive your own. Figure out what's wrong with it. Do what you need to do to make your life more interesting. The rest of the song is mostly all of these ideas. The second verse does go back into the perspective of the shadow person who runs social media in general. It's just another look at some of the devious tactics. It says, show a video of a corgi wearing a knitted sweater, then an advertisement for a pair of shoes that look much better than the 14 that they already have. And, it's vegan leather anyways, might as well own one of those. They'll be so delighted that they'll forget that they're all alive. So yeah, just more of this person trying to push the importance of social media and getting the dopamine receptors going and getting people addicted to this. But here's where I think everything really starts to click with me. The opening stanza is about being inundated with so much information just constantly being thrown at you that you don't have a moment to think. Boredom breeds creativity. Boredom has been such a fantastic tool for creatives throughout all time. And if you are constantly thinking about things or absorbing stuff, you're not getting that time, that downtime for your brain to function, to really create stuff. And the constant dopamine drip of, oh, this was cool, and then this is cool, especially with short form content. I mean, when you're talking about, 10-second video, swipe it, 10-second video, swipe it, and you just keep going. And now it's like 2 hours later, you don't even know where the time went. It's just this constant drip feed of positivity, of looking for that next cool video or whatever. I really like the fact that this song is done in a way that has so many layers presented to the listener at once. And I think this is where everything really clicks together for me. Lyrically, there's some cool topics in here, but for the most part, social media bad, make your life better, go do something else. This is the kind of stuff I typically get pretty upset about. But it's a couple of saving lines, but then the music really ties into this. This is a song about so much stuff being thrust at you and just not knowing what to do with it. So you just allow it to happen. And it sounds so warm and inviting. There's so much here. Why would I ever want to leave? It sounds great. There's always something new to check out. And that feeling of just being locked into this moment because it feels good is the dopamine drip of social media presented in indie rock form, multi-layered music, indie folk, sorry, not indie rock. And I think that is just a really cool detail to pick up there. And I come back to the music. I was thinking earlier, the build-up, right? Slowly build the song into something more complex. That might be the gradual introduction of someone to a social media platform. You don't really know what you're doing. There's a cool little cat video there. Somebody's tweeting about a sandwich they ate. And you're like, okay, this is kind of cool. Maybe you post something up. But once you get locked into it, it becomes routine. Every time you sit down for a meal, well, let's open the old social media up. So taking us into that second verse and just clicking into the full sound, everything being thrown at the listener at once rather than building into it, I think showcases how quickly and easily it is to make social media part of your routine, to get to the point when you're like, oh, it's been 10 minutes, dude, what's going on the internet? So I don't know. Everything about this song just works really well, and it is a joy to listen to, and it is just gorgeously written, but it's also so thematically tied together. It's done so well, and the lyrics. Part of it is just, it's that topic. But but there's also some really great writing in here too, tucked away in parts. So I'm kind of sold on this. And I think this is one of the largest ratios of music to lyrical discussion we've had, because this song was like 15 minutes in last time I looked, and now we're at 35, which means I definitely talked about lyrics more than the music today. Let's wrap this up then. These are my thoughts. The Arcadian Wild's Dopamine. What did you think of this song? Did anything stand out to you? Is there anything you'd like to add on to this track? Anything that you'd like to add on to what I said? Or, I don't know, correct me on if I misspoke about something. Do you have your own interpretation of things? Please put all of that and any other thoughts you have down into the comments section. Above that, in the description box, you'll find a link to Linktree. Takes you here. You can find links to my music, ways to support the channel, a link to the Discord server, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three of those. All right, that wraps it up for today. I'll be back tomorrow, though, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. UTC as usual. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.